Start your home buying journey today with these 10 essential tips. Are you looking for your dream home, or any home for that matter, and trying to figure out where to start? Watch today's video to get 10 tips on where to start when buying a home. Hi guys, I'm John Glassman, Johnny Real Estate, your Chippewa Valley real estate guide. Today we're going to look at 10 things that I think will help you get started when looking to buy a home. Now, I'm going to go through these tips in no particular order, but after these tips are done, I'm going to give you one bonus tip that I think is super important, so stick around to hear what that is. Now, the first thing I think anybody needs to do is assess your financial health. I want you to take a look at your bank accounts, and I want you to understand where your finances are. Before doing anything else, get an idea of what you would like to spend. What are you spending on rent right now? What kind of money are you making? What's your leverage to be able to buy a house? That also means looking at things like your savings accounts, your 401k, as there's options of getting down payments from that. And I want to make sure you understand your entire budget before even getting started, because I don't want you to be influenced by outside forces as you start looking for a home. I want you to know what that is before you get started. Then, before ever calling a bank, I want you to check your credit score. There's places online you can do it for free. If you want to go to MyFICO, you're going to get the accurate MyFICO scores, but it's going to cost you. If you want to take a quick look for free, you can go to places like Credit Karma. It won't be as accurate, but it'll give you an idea. Now, if your credit score is between 600 and 640, there's room for improvement that might help you get a better rate. That doesn't mean you can't buy a home today, but you may be able to get a better rate if there's some simple things that you could do to increase your score. Now, if your score is below 600, you likely will not be able to get a loan. And if you do qualify for a loan from any local bank, it's likely going to be extremely high rate. And I would recommend to improve your credit score closer to 700 before you begin looking. Next, if all those things fall in place and you want to start looking, first you need to go to a bank and get approved for a mortgage. I recommend this for everybody because so many people will call me and they'll say, John, I want to see a house. I want to see this house on Main Street or this house here. And they haven't even got a pre-approval yet. And if I begin showing them houses, and believe me, I've made that mistake in the past, oftentimes by the time they go to the bank, they don't qualify for a house, or they don't qualify for the house that they were looking at because it's too high priced. So it's far better to get that pre-approval first before we even look at houses. Now that you've assessed your financial health and you've gone to the bank and you've got a pre-approval and you know what you qualify for, I want you to go back to that number, that budget that you first started with when you were assessing your financial health, and compare that to what you qualify for with the bank. Just because you qualify for it doesn't mean that you and your spouse or significant other want to do that. So you need to take a look at what you qualify for and compare to that with the budget that you wanted to go for, and now come up with your final budget. That's the number where you want to be looking. You might go up a little bit or down a little bit based on what the market's doing, but you have a good sense of where you want to be and the payment that you're comfortable with. And now I can help you start looking for houses within that budget. Now that you've figured out where your budget is and what price point you want to be in, we need to find out if you've got enough to that down payment. If you're taking out VA and FHA loans, that could be 0 to 3.5%. And if your savings doesn't have it and you're not eligible for that 0%, you might have to wait for a little bit before you can buy that house and save up the down payment necessary. Once you have your budget, your price points figured out, and you're ready to start looking, you can start researching neighborhoods. You can research the schools, you can research crime. I can't help you with that, but you can look online. You can look at things like walking score, which is how close it is to amenities that you want to be around. This next thing is something I'm going to help you with, and that's understanding the market. Depending on how the market is, you have to prepare yourself. If you have a limit of 300,000 and houses are going for over 30,000, it makes no sense for us to look at houses that are at 300,000. It is far better for us to look at houses at 250 to like 275, and that's going to come from understanding where the market is. Understanding the market can help you prepare on whether you're going to be able to get that inspection that you want, how competitive things are going to be. Are you going to be able to get concessions? In the last few years, it's been tougher to get inspections and concessions through the offer phase, and you need to be prepared for that before we start looking at houses. Now, this next one I can assist you with, and it might change as we begin to look at houses. But right now, I want you to sit down and decide what your needs are and what your wants are. What things do you have to have in this house? What things would you like to have? This is going to be important. When I bought my first house, price point was huge. So we weren't thinking a lot about this. And I wish we would have, because we spent the next 10 years in a house that didn't have a place to put a dining area. So we had a dining room table that was kind of stuffed between the living room and the small kitchen. And I really wish we would have thought about that, having two kids, where we could sit. We ended up figuring it out and we made it work for us because price point ended up being more important than that. But over 10 years, we figured out that that's something that we really wanted. And so when we bought our next house, it made a difference. Now, as we begin to look at houses, you're going to start feeling that out. You and your significant other are going to be walking through these houses and you're going to realize, you know what? I really want that extra bathroom. I really want that bigger dining space. That extra living room space downstairs would be really nice. Those things are going to come as we look at houses, and we can make our adjustments as we go, but you need to start with a list. This next one goes along with mortgages, but I put it later in the list because I wanted it to be separate. As we begin to look at houses, I want you to consider the different mortgage options. Many times I have veteran buyers come out and they say, hey, I want to get a VA loan. And I said, fine. And we look at these houses and they start sending me houses that are fixer-uppers, right? They're in a better price point. But when we go look at those houses, it becomes very clear that they will not qualify for VA or FHA with that low money down. And they need to begin to look at maybe some conventional options, which is up to 20% down. When we start looking at houses, that may change what mortgage that you want to do based on the house that you're looking at. If you start looking at something that's a fixer-upper, we may have to ditch the FHA or VA option and go for conventional if that's open to you. So understanding the different mortgage options is going to be important depending on how our house hunting process goes. The next tip, our 10th tip, is huge, and that's staying flexible. As we begin to look at houses and we get to the 10th and 15th and even 20th house or more than that, you need to begin to stay flexible. You might realize that some of those things that were on your list are not feasible at your price point, and you need to be flexible if you want to get into a house. As we begin making offers and they don't go through, you may have to be flexible about what's in your offer, meaning some contingencies might have to go. Those are things that you have to be able to work around. Maybe when you started the process, you were adamant that you weren't going to be competitive and you didn't want to go against other offers. And now you realize that if you were just a little bit competitive and maybe lose some of your contingencies and win against some offers, that you might get an offer through. Maybe that's something you want to be more flexible towards. And here comes the bonus tip that you've been waiting for. Make sure you find a good, reliable, qualified, and experienced real estate agent. The market has been extremely competitive for 3 years. When it slowed down with the high rates, there was a lot of real estate agents that were not experienced in a market that didn't have competitive offers. I've been doing this for almost 10 years, and when I got started, the market was completely different than it is today. And so I've had experience going through a buyer's market all the way to this crazy seller market that we're in. And so when the market shifts, I'm prepared for it. If you're interested in buying a home, I would love to help you. I'm John Glassburner, Johnny Real Estate. You can find me on all major social media platforms at Johnny Real Estate or www.johnnyrealestate.com. Thanks for watching.